We good to go, sir?
We are, Chair. My device
Yes,
is
sir.
rolling and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, May the 11th, 2021. It is 3:30 p.m. This is a special meeting of the City of Morro Bay City Council. This meeting is being held via teleconference pursuant to Section 3 of Executive Order N29-20 issued by Governor Newsom on March 17th, 2020. This meeting will be conducted telephonically through Zoom and broadcast live on cable channel 20 and streamed on the city website. Please be advised that pursuant to the executive order and to ensure the health and safety of the public by limiting human contact that could spread the COVID-19 virus, the Veterans Hall will not be open for the meeting. Thank you. Good afternoon. And Madam Clerk, if you could establish a quorum, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Addis?
Here.
Councilmember Barton?
Here.
Councilmember Davis?
I am present.
Councilmember Heller?
Here.
And Mayor Heading?
Present.
Thank you.
And thank you. With that, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Our special meeting today is to consider nominations to a number of our citizen advisory groups. I want to thank up front all of those individuals who have applied. We appreciate your interest in civic service and certainly admire you for stepping forward and your willingness to consider serving on one of our boards. And so I'll just say welcome to you all at this time. Before we go forward with the process, I'll just talk a little bit about how it works. We have a number of vacancies where we have only a single applicant or the same number of applicants for the same number of vacancies that are available. And so for those positions, what I'll do is invite the applicant in and allow them to make a statement as to why they are interested in serving on the particular board, and also tell a little bit about themselves and background. And then if there is a council member that would like to ask a question, I'll just generally open it up. And then we will look for a motion to approve that individual if a motion occurs. In the one area where we have multiple applicants, I'll do it a little bit differently. We'll invite all of the applicants in. I will allow them, of course, to introduce themselves and give a little information about their background and why they're interested in the position. And then I will ask each applicant individually to be promoted in, or we'll go in the order that we have in the agenda, and I'll allow each council member to ask one question. And that then at the end, we will poll you individually. So if we have 4 applicants and there are 2 positions, if you could give your top 2 selections for the position, and the clerk then will tabulate that, and hopefully we will have 2 prevailing individuals that we will select to serve. And so that's the process that we used previously. And I'll go forward using that process again. So again, welcome. Good afternoon. With that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment. This is public comment for items on this special agenda only. Again, this is public comment for items on this agenda only. The clerk has placed the information on how to access public comment on the screen. You can either access it via the Zoom webinar link indicated and or the phone number that's indicated on the screen. Be sure to hit the raise hand icon for the Zoom link, and *9 if you're calling in to raise your hand. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment and ask Anthony, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Heading. I do not see any raised hands in the queue.
Okay, I will then go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the council. And Dana, if we could promote Mr. Rodriguez, Mike Rodriguez, for the Planning Commission position.
And Mike has joined us.
Great. Mike, do you have video? And you're muted. If you could turn your mute off. Very good. Mike, can you hear me?
We're both, now I've got both going on.
There you go. We can see
Yes,
it.
I can hear you. There you go.
Great.
Okay, great.
You're coming through loud and clearly. Just wanted to say welcome.
Okay, great.
Thank you again for applying. This is for one vacancy for the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2025 for the Planning Commission. Mike, thank you in advance for sending your resume and your qualifications and the information that you provided. We very much appreciate that. The process, if you didn't hear me earlier, since we have a single applicant, will allow you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and then also why you're particularly interested in serving at this time on this commission. I'll then ask any of the council members if they'd like to ask you a specific question. If not, we would then move for a motion for approval. So Mike, welcome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in our Planning Commission, sir?
Sure, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the mayor and the city council for the opportunity to interview and serve our community in an advisory capacity as a planning commissioner. I did say in my bio, I have 32 years of formal civil service experience working for the state of California and the California Santa Clara Valley Water District. I also have about 15 to 20 years of additional experience serving on prior boards and commissions. Regarding Morro Bay, I've lived in Morro Bay for about 3 years. I have reviewed the general plan, which is currently in process. I actually had the opportunity to listen to the last council meeting, which took place on 4/27, and listen to the discussion regarding the general plan update. So I'm familiar with what each of the council members said and their concerns, as well as what they'd like to see moving forward. I understand that's a moving process, so we're not done with that yet. So I have reviewed the housing plan for Morro Bay as well, because that's one of my that's one of the big things I did as a prior planning commissioner in my prior city that I lived in, Santa Clara. I helped develop the single biggest, largest housing development in the city's history, which was 3,500 units in the north part of our city. So I'm very interested in housing. This is just one additional piece of information. I applied for the Planning Commission last year, and part of my decision to withdraw was the fact that there was a current commissioner who was seeking reappointment. And I feel that any commissioner who has served for 4 years deserves a reappointment if they've done their job well. So I withdrew at that point in time when I found out there was a prior commissioner looking for reappointment. But other than that, I'll just go ahead and read what I put on my application regarding why I'd like to serve. I'd say, having resided in Morro Bay for almost 3 years, I have made many new friends and become familiar with the community. Morro Bay will be my home for many years, and I'm interested in serving the community. I have reviewed Morro Bay's housing element, as I said, which is housing element vision, and have a background and experience to help the city meeting its housing goals. In addition, I'm also interested in the general plan update process, including development and implementation. But with that, I'll go ahead and leave it there.
Great, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate that introduction to you. And obviously, you have great experience and background in public service. Appreciate especially your comment about withdrawing due to the continued service of an incumbent. I just wanted to recognize that as being very commendable. I'll open it up and ask if any of our council members have a question for Mr. Rodriguez at this time. If so, you can either raise your hand like this, or there we go. Councilmember Addis, please.
I actually don't have a question. I just want to say welcome to Morro Bay, Mike. It's a wonderful place. As you know, my husband was born in Santa Clara, so I appreciated seeing that on your resume, and I appreciate you taking the time and wanting to give to Morro Bay. It's an amazing place to be and an amazing place to serve, and you obviously are very well qualified for this, so I appreciate you stepping forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Addis. Any other comments or any questions? Yes, Councilmember Martin.
I also just have a comment, and I was so pleased as I opened our packet and looked at all the people who had applied for the various openings, and especially this one, Mike, to see the depth of your experience, depth and breadth of your experience, to have that potentially to offer up for our Planning Commission. I'm just really pleased, so thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Barton. Any other comments or looking for hands? Seeing none, I think perhaps I'll entertain a motion from Councilmember Addis. I sense that.
I will, I think, see if I get this right. I'll move to appoint Mr. Mike Rodriguez to the Planning Commission.
I'll second
that. Got it. Motion by Councilmember Addis to appoint Mr. Rodriguez to the Planning Commission, second by Councilmember Hiller. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Addis?
Yes.
Councilmember Barton?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Heller?
Yes.
And Mayor Heading?
Yes.
The motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mike.
Mike, you got a 5-0. And thanks again for applying. We look forward to your service and really appreciate you stepping forward. Again, welcome to Morro Bay. And I know Councilmember Addis will not hold the fact that you're from Santa Clara against you. Just kidding.
Yeah, well,
Mike, thank you so much.
Okay,
Any questions of us, sir, that you may want to ask?
No, I look forward to continuing to listen to your discussion about the general plan update, so I will continue to do that in order to better advise our Planning Commission on what maybe the council and the mayor would like to see in the process.
Fantastic. Great. That'll be this evening starting at 5:30.
Oh, then I'll be back on the phone.
There you are, right? Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, have a nice evening.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, that brings us to our applicants for our Harbor Advisory Board. We have one applicant for one vacancy for the remainder of a term, ending January 31st, 2025, for the Marine-Oriented Business Representative, and that's Mary Witowski. And then we have two vacancies for the remainder of the term, ending January 31st, 2025, for the alternate position to the Morro Bay Commercial Fishing Organization. And we have Lori French and Pete Griffin. His father became ill. We got a note yesterday that he wouldn't be able to be here. But he wanted to be. Yes, is he here?
It looks like he may be here. It says Spencer Griffin, but I'm going to promote and see if that is in fact Pete.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. Pete, is that you who have joined the meeting? The name on the profile name is Spencer Griffin, so I just wanted to confirm.
Pete, you're muted, if that's you.
Here.
Great, okay. Welcome, Pete. Thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and start with the position for the Marine-Oriented Business Representative. I want to welcome Mary Witowski. Mary, did I say that correctly?
Close enough.
Okay, what is it? Tell me, I want to...
It's Witkowski. Yeah.
Witkowski?
Yeah.
Thank you. I got to underline the T. My apologies.
That's fine.
Welcome. Thank you so much for applying. We appreciate your willingness to step up. For this position, we only have one applicant, so we're going to ask you to just go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and then why you are interested in the position. I'll ask the council members then if they have any specific questions, and if not, we'll move to a motion for approval. So, welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much for having me. So I originally am from San Luis Obispo, was raised here. I left the area to attend Annapolis on the East Coast, and then served in the Navy, deployed 3 times to the Middle East. So I have experience as a professional mariner. After getting out of active duty, I started working in technology at Google, and now I run my own company that is focused on mostly Department of Defense work with helping with artificial intelligence technology acquisition. I recently moved to Morro Bay and have committed to raising my family here. And I was introduced to kind of the issues with the city and the harbor via the newsletter from Councilman Davis. And I plan on living here for the next 40 years. And I just want to be very invested in the future of the city and the community, especially the harbor. I think it's so unique here with, I can see the Army dredge ship actually out the window here, but just the way the harbor serves, sailing, commercial fishing. I salmon fish with my dad and I sail lasers in this harbor. So I'm extremely attached to all the different purposes it serves and want to kind of put my money where my mouth is and get involved in keeping that.
Great, Mary. Thank you. And thank you for stepping forward. Obviously, excellent background and well qualified. And by the way, welcome to Morro Bay. Very glad to have you as part of our community. Let me go ahead and open it up. Council members, if you have either a comment or question for Mary, this would be the time. Thank you. Council Member Addis, I think first hand, and then Council Member Heller.
Hi, Mary, and welcome, and I'm welcome back to San Luis, and welcome to Morro Bay, and thank you, Councilmember Davis, for putting out your newsletter and snagging Mary into the HAB. I'm the council liaison for the HAB, and just was so excited to see your application and to see that you're interested in being involved. So I just want to say thank you up front for that.
Councilmember Heller.
Yes, Mary, I wanted to thank you in advance as well. Your background is just so impressive, and so excited to have you step up and volunteer for this position and moving back to Morro Bay to raise your family. It's just awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think Councilmember Davis is probably excited at the opportunity to not have my emails just randomly coming through with a list of ideas too.
Well, you have plenty of places for your ideas now. That's for sure.
Indeed.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing no hands, we'll go ahead and ask for a motion. Entertain a motion?
I'll move to appoint. Oh, go ahead. I'll move to appoint Mary Witkowski to the Harbor Advisory Board in the, I think it's the Marine Services, Marine-Oriented Business for the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay.
Motion by Councilmember Addis to appoint Mary Witkowski, and second by Councilmember Davis. Any further discussion? If not, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Member Addis?
Yes.
Councilmember Barton?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Heller?
Yes.
And Mayor Heading?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Mary, welcome. Appreciate you again stepping up to serve our community. Do you have any questions for the council?
No, thank you.
Not at this time. You will, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it. Okay, Okay, next we have 2 vacancies for the remainder of the term ending January 31st, 2025. These are alternates to the Morro Bay Commercial Fishing Organization. Again, 2 vacancies and 2 applicants. Welcome, Lori. Good to see you. Lori French is with us, and Pete Griffin. Welcome to you again. And Lori, we'll go ahead and start with you. Just a little bit of background and why you're interested in the position.
Well, let's see. I came to Morro Bay when I was 19 as a Cal Poly student. I've been involved in pretty much everything over the years. We fought, my main, involvement started when we went to get the harbor dredged after my father-in-law was killed. And then, PTA, soccer, basketball, the Morro Bay Rec Department, CC, Central Coast Winter Fisheries, the Morro Bay Commercial Fishermen's Association. I've been treasurer and various positions over the years. Currently, I am serving on the board of PCFFA, which is our state board for commercial fishermen. I want to make sure we have a voice. And that's pretty much it.
Mayor, you're muted.
Finally, we caught him.
I rarely do that to myself. I'm always looking, but I have a new screen, so I'm trying to figure it out. Thanks, Lori, for stepping up. We appreciate that, and your years of service to the community are well known. And again, welcome. And I'll go ahead and move it to Pete Griffin. Welcome, Pete. Just a little bit about your background and why you might be interested in this vacancy, this position. You're muted, Pete, like I was.
How about now?
Perfect. Welcome.
Thanks, guys. I'm here in support mostly of the commercial fishermen of Morro Bay and at their request through the association in support of Captain Jeremiah O'Brien and Lori French and her fishing family, the French family. And my history is essentially as a commercial fisherman and a painter. I've been in the business for about 30 years, and my biggest interest is to support my fellow fishermen that don't have the opportunity to spend the time to do this, which I do. And most importantly, Jeremiah and Lori, if they're away on business that requires them to be out of town, I'm here to fill the void. And after doing this for a couple of years now, I'm more than happy to step up. And would thank you all for my nomination.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate that. And also, again, thank you for your willingness to get involved and step forward. With that, I'll go ahead and ask if any council members have any questions or comments regarding Lori or Pete at this time. Questions or any comments? Yes, Councilmember Davis. Oh, not your hand. Sorry, Councilmember Addis. New screen.
I think Councilmember Heller was before me.
Sorry, Councilmember Heller. She's letting you go first.
Lori and Pete both, I tell you, we're so happy to have folks with your background and experience and connection to this community step up and volunteer to be on the HAB. And I know with Councilmember Addis, as your liaison, your voice will be heard. And just thank you so much for willing to do this and give your time in this very important committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Heller. Councilmember Addis.
And I'll just echo that. I've really enjoyed my time being liaison to the HAB and have great respect for Jeremiah, and had actually called him and said, who can you find? So I want to appreciate both of you. It's hard for me to think of two people more qualified to be his alternate. So just thank you for stepping up in that way.
Any other comments? Councilmember Barton.
I'd like to thank both candidates also. And Laura, you mentioned it again, but I had already underlined it. Commercial fishermen need a voice. And so in your comments, I had underlined that. So thank you very much for stepping up.
You're welcome.
Great, and I'll add my thanks, Lori, for your extensive years of service to the community in multiple different venues and all that you continue to do with your volunteerism and now stepping up for the HAB position. Pete, welcome to you, and thank you for being willing to fill in when your fellow peers might not be available to represent your voice. And so, in my opinion, we have two great candidates, and I will go ahead and move approval of Lori French and Pete Griffin for the alternate positions to Morro Bay Commercial Fishing Organization. Second by Councilmember. Motion by Mayor Heading, second by Councilmember Addis. Any further discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
Member Addis?
Yes.
Councilmember Barton?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Heller?
Yes.
And Mayor Heading?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you both. Lori or Pete, do you have any questions for us?
I don't have any questions. I just like to thank you for working with us because our industry is, shall we say, fluid. You know, it's like the guys come and go and they can't depend on being home any certain days during seasons. And I appreciate you working with us for that.
Absolutely. Pete, any questions or comments, or?
No questions, and my thanks again. My thanks again for the nomination, and thanks to Lori for stepping up.
You bet. Thank you both. Thanks for being here. Have a great day, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
So we can officially disconnect now?
You can disconnect. You betcha. Thank you.
I'll go back to work. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pete. Okay, Council, that brings us to our Public Works Advisory Board. We have 2 vacancies for the remainder of a term that will end January 31st, 2025, and 1 vacancy for the remainder of a term ending January 31st, 2024. You will be selecting 3 out of the 5. We'll do the vote tally, and unless there's a preference by those that prevail for either of the terms, we will allow the highest vote getter or the 2 highest vote getters to fill the term ending 2025, and the next highest vote getter the term ending 2024. So if you'll go ahead and promote, we have Cal Myers, Lori Beal, and I believe, is Robert Nava here? Dana, was he able to make it?
No, he was not. He had a family medical emergency this afternoon and apologizes for missing the meeting. He is still interested in serving should the council wish to consider him.
Again, council, our policies and procedures allow us to consider somebody in absentia. This was an emergency that Mr. Nava had written to me about regarding an illness in the family. And I just want to say I wish him the best and his family member the best, and hope that things will turn out okay. So Robert Nava will be considered even though he's not here. So please note that he will be part of your voting. With that, welcome to Cal Myers, Lori Beal, Stephen Francis, and Ted Schad. And with that, if we'll promote those folks, looks like they're all promoted. Great.
You're ready to go.
Ready to go. Okay, welcome, folks. What we're going to do is allow each of you to introduce yourselves and give us an idea of why you're applying for the Public Works Advisory Board. And then what we will do is allow council members, after everybody has introduced themselves, to ask any questions of any of the individuals that are applying for the positions. And then we will go ahead with a formal motion. Of course, at the end, before we take a vote, we will ask if you have any questions of council, anything we can clarify for you. We would be happy to do that as well. So again, welcome. Thank you for stepping up and wanting to be involved with a very important advisory board to the City Council, the Public Works Advisory Board. And we'll start with Cal Myers. Cal, welcome. Go ahead and unmute yourself, sir.
All right.
A little bit about your background and why you'd like to be considered for the position, sir.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Cal Myers. I actually grew up in Southern California, right by the Newport Harbor area. So coming up here to Morro Bay, very similar, right on the water, pretty low key. Lots of nature preserves and the state parks. I moved up to Central Coast about 10 years ago to Paso Robles. I got a job at Dell, and it's 100% remote work, so I can pretty much work where I want, as long as I have a cell phone and internet. Had a chance to move to Morro Bay here about 3 years ago, and again, just love it. Want to get involved in the community. Sorry for the foggy picture. I didn't know that was a thing. My background has been IT, so I've been doing IT work my whole career. As a project manager now, we work for Dell, like I say, Dell SecureWorks. We're delivering cybersecurity testing. In technology, you can't really be an expert in everything. As a project manager, we deliver a lot of different services, and that's what really drew me to the Public Works Advisory Board. Because you look through the list of things, and it's from trees to water to sewers to traffic patterns, a variety of different things. And so one of the skills that I've developed over the years is to rely on others, their expertise, but also to recognize their bias. Everybody, there's a horticulturist. In fact, I listened to the presentation on the planning board. They have a certain expertise about those plants, but you have to consider, tree litter because it's on a sidewalk. And so understanding people's biases is one of the strengths I like to bring forth. And I think that would work well with the diversity of projects that go on with Public Works. So that's kind of my spiel. I love it here, and hopefully I can help out there. If not, there's a variety of other public services. I think the little bloom parties look like they're fun too.
Lots of opportunities. Thanks, Cal, for again stepping up, and thanks for those opening comments. Mm-hmm. We'll go next to Lori Veal. Lori, welcome. Thank you. Same questions. A little bit about yourself, and then also why you might be interested in serving on the Public Works Advisory Board. You're muted, Lori.
In the bottom
there you go.
Oh, I got it.
Good.
I called it on my phone, so it's always a little different. Well, I want to apologize in advance because I actually happen to be on vacation this week. So this is not my office space, and I realize the sun is just coming down over there. So apologies in advance for that. I came out to the East Coast because my daughter had just finished her freshman year of college, which is actually part of the story. I really value volunteering, and with having my youngest leave the nest, so to speak, I feel that I have a little more opportunity to try and do that. And one area in which I have not previously been able to volunteer is local community service. So I was just very interested when I saw the opportunities to do that here. I mean, so I love Morro Bay. I think it's just a very, very special place. It's just near and dear to my heart, and I would be honored to help in any capacity to just sort of further the vision and the future of the city. As far as my own background, I'm an attorney with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and I'm on a permanent telework similar to as Cal described. So my office is basically my home. So I'm still working in that capacity, and I really enjoy my job, and I feel privileged to be furthering the agency's mission, which in terms of what I'm involved in, it's primarily protection of endangered marine species, marine mammal protection, etc. And part of one of the interesting and fun things about being a lawyer is sort of part of your job skills is just learning new things all the time. So I haven't often worked on public works projects, but from the perspective of reviewing them for consistency with federal environmental laws, and I find it very interesting. So when I saw there were different opportunities, public works in particular, is just something that's very interesting to me. And as far as sort of skills go, I generally work on a team, including a lot of client, representatives, biologists, technical experts, and help provide legal advice and recommendations for them. And I think that, to me, it would be well suited to this sort of position in that my job is not to present my own opinions or try to drive policy. It's to provide information and recommendations, and then in my example of my work, the client, ultimately makes the decision and sort of the policy direction that they want to go in. And it's something that I enjoy doing, is trying to help further the client's objectives. And I would sort of look at this position in the same way, which is sort of, what are your objectives? What's the mission here? And here are different options. And how can I help you get there? Let's see. I don't want to go on too long, but I do want to say, while, my job is sort of marine and species protection, I think I try to do a good job at being very professional and neutral in, whether it be volunteer or my professional work, in terms of I'm not coming in with an agenda. I'm trying to give objective, what's feasible, what's legal, and what are the pros and cons of different options. So I'll go ahead and stop there. And again, I think the sun is completely in my face, so I apologize for the weird lighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Again, thanks for stepping up, and glad to see that you're able to travel and go on vacation again. The sunlight looks good. It's coming out here in Morro Bay as we speak a bit. So thanks again. With that, we will go ahead and ask Stephen Francis. Stephen? Same two questions, a little bit about yourself, and then also why you're interested in the Public Works Advisory Board, and welcome.
Thank you. Going back to when I was in grade school, I've been a highway junkie, I'm fascinated understanding roads and transportation patterns. And always have been. And for some obscure reason, I ended up going to college to become an electrical engineer. That has nothing to do with roads. But with that, set off a 39-year career in the aerospace business, with a lot of it in management of projects or actually groups of people. I ended up retiring about 9 years ago from that, and we moved to Morro Bay in 2014 after having lived in Slow for about 10 years before that. We're really enjoying it here. In Morro Bay, we had the opportunity to extensively rebuild a house, replace a sewer lateral, so learned a lot there. We have dealt with issues with our street that I'm sure many of you are aware of with my letters about that. And thanks to council's involvement and the public works staff, it's now repaired and is doing nicely. So thank you there. I was an active participant in helping in campaigning to get the water reclamation project approved. and I'm glad that's finally underway. In past background, when I lived in Washington State, I was a member of the City of Bellevue Transportation Commission, where we reviewed the road improvement projects, not maintenance projects, but actually adding lanes or traffic circles or things like that. And I was the only highway junkie on the board. Everybody else had different kinds of things that they were looking for. I've dealt with a lot of committees through my aerospace career, and I'm comfortable listening to people and trying to come to a consensus on how to work things. I'm reading through, especially Red's monthly newsletters that contain more information that a lot of people can digest in one reading, and I'm very grateful for them. It's become apparent that the city's infrastructure that the Public Works Department maintains is quite extensive. It's been around a long time. It needs a lot of care and a lot of guidance in terms of trying to help it last forever without costing a lot of money. I think that's all I wanted to say. And I'll let people ask questions of me when it's time.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate again you stepping up and considering a position on our Public Works Advisory Board. With that, let me welcome Ted. Ted, how you doing? Good to see you, and appreciate you being here. Same two questions, sir. A little bit about your background and why you're interested in the Public Works Advisory Board. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I started my career in public service in 1980. I was a public servant, did public service every day in my professional career until I retired 35 years later in 2015. At that point, I said never again. Took 6 years off, but it's in your blood. So after a little bit of a rest period here in Morro Bay, we moved to Morro Bay 6 years ago when I did retire. I decided it's time to get involved again. And knowing what the city of Morro Bay is doing right now with your sewer treatment plant mainly, I thought, I've got some talents that maybe could be of use to the city. I started my career in 1980 in Southern California. I was a city engineer for the city of San Clemente. Actually was a project engineer for the construction of their treatment plant in 1986, I think. The years are kind of fading, but after that, for the rest of the 80s, I became a consultant. I helped cities in mainly San Diego County that were incorporating at that time, set up their public works and city engineering departments. So I helped the city of Encinitas, Solana Beach, and Dana Point start their city engineering and public works departments in the late 80s. In 1990, I moved to Bishop, California, in Eastern California, Owens Valley, where I worked for the Air Pollution Control District there for 25 years, ultimately ending up as the Air Pollution Control Officer. I did dust research and was a project manager on very large dust control projects that the city of Los Angeles was required to implement in the Owens Valley to control the dust caused by their water diversions. About $2 billion worth of construction out there. So have done a lot of administrative work, a lot of design work, a lot of field work. I just felt that maybe my talents would be of assistance to the city of Morro Bay.
Great, Ted. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And with that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is open it up to council. We have 5 applicants for 3 positions. And so what I'll ask is that if you have a single question that's generic, I'll just ask each of the candidates to take a minute or less to answer that question. And then if you have a specific question for one of the individuals, If you could direct that to that individual specifically, that would be fantastic. So I'm looking for hands if you have questions. Councilmember Heller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, Red, do we have you to thank for all of these outstanding applicants? If so, we need to give you a finder's fee here. I'll tell you, the five of you, anyway, the five of you have such great backgrounds, from an IT professional to an attorney with NOAA, engineers. I mean, I'm so happy with this group, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what are we going to do with all these folks? We have to find a way to put you to work in this community, whether you get selected for this advisory board or not. So thank you so much for stepping up. All very impressive backgrounds, and believe me, we need you, whether you get selected or not. I do have one question that I'd like to present, which is Public Works obviously is a broad category, covers lots of different issues. What do you think the most important issue is in public works for the city of Morro Bay? So that's my question.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Heller. Cal, can we start with you first, sir?
Well, the one that has the most popularity right now is obviously the sewer plant. Although that sort of horse is out, it's getting built and whatnot. I'm actually personally pretty excited about the deal with the dog park and that 5-way land deal and the open space and the house lots. There's still a little bit of a controversy about the house lots and the 5-way deal and doing the dog park. And so that one, I'm an avid biker, so that one's interesting to me. And I think after that, I don't know about the tree plant. That was interesting. But I think getting the water reclamation plant done, and then what to do with all of that property down there, and then along with the park. Anytime you get an opportunity to do land conservatory or public spaces, I think is always a huge win for the city, because it's something that can't be taken away. Hopefully that answers your question, sir.
I believe it did. Looks like it. And Lori, please.
Thank you for the question. I feel like it's a little bit like being asked who's your favorite child, because clearly all the public works are important in their different ways. But being forced to choose, I would lean toward water-related issues of all sorts, just given climate change, drought potential, so that and also pollution issues with stormwater, et cetera. So I think I would say stormwater, wastewater treatment, reclamation, but again, they're all valuable and important and deserving of full consideration and attention.
Thank you, Lori. Steve.
If I'm going to choose one thing, it would be not getting behind on the maintenance and what I call minor upgrading of our complicated infrastructure. I've seen in other places where one element gets ignored for a long time, and then suddenly it becomes a big disaster. Morro Bay can't afford big disasters. We need to stay on top of stuff and fix the little problems before they become big problems. That's it.
Great, Steve. Thank you so much. Ted, please.
Yeah, I think public works people can't really look at, I wouldn't look at any particular project. The thing about public works is really public safety. And it's important that we look at the public safety aspects of all the things that we do and are responsible for. So the water has to keep flowing out of the taps, and the sewage has to keep flowing down the drains, and the streets have to stay open and safe. So I would say the public safety aspect of all the things that we are involved in is the most important.
Great. Thanks so much. I see Councilmember Davis, sir, your hand as well.
Yes.
Question or comment?
Yes, I have a question for the applicants. Thank you. And that is, what do you hope to accomplish as a PWAB member?
Great question. I'll go ahead and start with Ted this time. Go back, reverse order. Sorry, Ted, put you on the spot.
Give me a curveball there.
I know.
I mean, I think really what I hope to accomplish is relatively short term. I think the biggest challenge the city faces is this sewage treatment plant and all the appurtenances associated with it, the pipelines and the pump stations and things. So I would anticipate that that's where we would spend the majority of our time, at least for the next few years. You have to set priorities. You can't do everything all the time, everywhere. I think it's the sewage treatment plant is number one on the list for probably quite some time.
Great, thank you. Steve, please.
Well, I agree that the WRF is the elephant in the room in terms of overall priority to get done. It also has a lot of attention and a very detailed plan to get it done. I think we need to start focusing on and maybe we are already on the other elements to our infrastructure and make sure we have a plan for those that deals with issues before they're issue, or deals with things before it's an issue, and still something we can afford without having to fund a do-over.
Great, thank you. And Lori, please.
So, thank you for the question. I'm interpreting it maybe a little differently in terms of what I wish to accomplish is just to be able to further the city's mission and the Public Works Department's mission of providing the services, that are needed in the community. And I would feel that I were successful in that just by being able to do my homework, study up on issues, do research where needed, and come in able to help provide information to inform decision making. So my approach, and again, maybe this is from being a legal advisor background, where I'm not the policy person, I'm not the decision maker. I'm here to help you make informed decisions, and also help if there's a certain direction you want to go, try to help figure out how you can get there effectively.
Great, thank you. And Ted, please. Or excuse me, Cal.
So it's interesting going last after the first two questions in the intro. I'll be perfectly honest, my motivation, I'm going to take the same tack as Lori, is somewhat selfish. I really like Morro Bay. I like the character. It's what drove me here. I mean, I love the parks. I love the character. I love the feel of the place. And I'd like to make my mark to try to preserve, what drew me here. And I think the Public Works is that I like Ted and Steve said, is you don't want to break the bank. We don't want to be bankrupt because we forgot to do some critical piece. And hopefully I can make my mark with that and help keep it the city that at least that I like, and that the direction that it's going based on the general plan and everything else.
Great, thanks so much. And I see Councilmember Addis, you have your hand up.
I do. Thank you, Mayor. Before I ask my question, I just want to echo Councilmember Heller's comments that we're incredibly fortunate to have such qualified applicants. And we also have an opening on the Harbor Advisory Board for someone who has a strong interest in recreational boating or paddling. And so as I vote, I'll be kind of keeping that in mind and crossing my fingers that if you're not appointed to this advisory board, that you would please consider applying for the HAB, where I'm a liaison, and would love to have a full committee over there as well. But my question is this. sometimes, not necessarily in Morro Bay, but sometimes people feel that government and public works moves more slowly than they would like. And what do you see as your strengths in situations like this, where you might like things to move faster, but they're going more slowly than you would like in the area of public works? How would you handle those situations if you were on this advisory board?
Great. And let me start with Steve this time.
I had to find the unmute button, sorry.
That's okay.
If I have to, I understand some projects or fixes to issues can be done quickly. The quicker you do it, typically the less permanent the solution, as I've seen with street patches. So if there's an issue and you need to explain to someone, we can do this quick and dirty fix in 2 weeks, or we can do a really good fix, but it's going to take a year or 2 years. Explain level with citizens and tell, here's the choices we have. Here's the two constraints, and let them give you some opinion. I think a lot of people, I think most people don't have a clue about how complicated things are and how hard it is to do repairs and maintenance, how difficult it is to dig up a sewer line in the middle of the street and replace it. And, you don't just call drain busters and they come out and do it. So anyway, I think just explain the options to people and let them understand it.
Great, thank you. Cal, I'm mixing it up this time.
Yeah, I noticed. It's funny that, Don, you say that as a project manager, everybody always asks, how long is it going to take and can we do it faster? And there's a variety of techniques. I know I did a long stint at Northrop Grumman. We did some Army projects, and I was doing similar projects over in the commercial world. And, the running joke was one phase of the project for the Army took as long as the entire project out in the commercial world. And unfortunately, in the government, there are some rules and regulations, procurement and advisory boards and public comment that just unfortunately take time, and they just need to be accounted for. Some things you can accelerate from a larger project perspective, and I think to Steve's point, you can do quick fixes, but that's sort of a different tact on it that so it's all compromised. So it's a matter of just being pragmatic, understanding what you're running against and making sure everybody knows what the process is that you have to follow and articulating that to all the stakeholders. So it's just, sometimes it takes a while, and as long as everybody knows, when there are delays that aren't communicated, those are the ones. Uncertainty is okay, but you have to know that it's uncertain. I guess that's the way I always look at it. So that's sort of my answer. Sure. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Lori, please.
Yes, that is certainly an issue, and I think in all areas of government work. As Cal said, communication I think is very important, both external and also internal. What I find most effective is just having the clear internal communication so that there are common priorities and there are agreed upon internal priorities, because it comes down to often prioritization. What things are the most important, and when we get them done, let's set up our milestones and let's all keep the team on task for those.
Great.
No magic formula.
No, that's good. And Ted.
Yeah, I spent 35 years as a type A personality and a type Z business, public service. So patience is the most important thing. But one of the sayings that I always had was the lack of communication is the root of all human conflict. Communicating is the best way to move as quickly as possible. You can never move quickly through government issues, but communicating, I would tell my staff, if you don't return a telephone call within 24 hours, I will assume that you are dead. You got to keep talking to people. You got to keep the conversation moving. That is the best way to get through these inevitable delays that we face.
Great, thank you. Looking for any other questions from council? Okay. And if not, any questions from any of you for us specifically before we entertain a motion? Anything we can answer with regard to the council?
Not at this time.
Okay. Seeing none. All right. Again, thanks all of you for applying. I wish we had enough positions for everybody. We do have a tough choice, but again, as Councilmember Addis referred to, we have other positions that currently there is a position available, but other positions that come up frequently. And we would appreciate if you do not get selected that you might consider other opportunities within the city, because obviously all 5 of you are well qualified for a number of different opportunities. So again, thank you. With that, council, I'll give you just a minute to look at your notes. We'll just ask for your top 3. We're appointing 3. You don't have to specify whether it's the term ending 2025 or 2024, but just again, your top 3. And let me just give you a minute to look at your notes, and then I'll call for your apparent that you're ready to move forward. So let me start with Councilmember Barton. Your 3 choices, please.
I selected Kel Myers, Lori Beal, and Ted Schad.
Okay. Cal, Lori, and Ted, thank you for that. Councilmember Heller, sir, please.
Yes, I've selected Mr. Francis, Mr. Shady, and Mr. Nava.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Heller. Councilmember Davis, please.
Yes. I selected Lori Beal, Stephen Francis, and Ted Shady.
Got that, and thank you for that. And Councilmember Addis, please.
I've selected Lori Beal, Stephen Francis, and Ted Shady, with the caveat that if Cal is not appointed, I just have to make another pitch for HAB because we need someone really good. And I'm the liaison. And it's for recreational boating and someone that likes paddling. Kayaking counts.
Okay. Kayaking counts.
Yeah.
Not that she's desperate, but I she wants to fill.
I am not. I'm going to reframe that, Mayor, and say strategic.
There you go. Thank you so much. It is a great committee as well, and thanks again for those comments. For myself, Mr. Steve Francis, Ted Shoddy, and Lori Beal. So with that, I'll give the clerk just a minute to do the tally. Again, as she's tallying, thanks to all of you folks again for stepping up. And we greatly appreciate you taking the time today, and certainly wish you well if you're selected, and hope that you'll consider other positions if you're not. Thank you. And thank you. Anna, do we have a total?
We do.
Okay.
Ted Shadi. How do you pronounce your last name? I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
Any way you want, but the family pronounces it Shady. It's,
Shady.
It's
Okay,
awful
Ted
that they
Shady.
decided to pronounce it that way. It's a good thing I'm not an attorney. But Shady, yes.
Mr. Shady, you received 5 votes and are appointed to a term ending January of 2025.
Thank you.
2 of the candidates, Mr. Francis and Ms. Beal, received 4 votes. So there will need to be a decision made as to which will serve the full term through 25 and which will serve the shorter term through 24.
So let's see, Steve or Lori, do you have a preference for the term ending 2024 or 2025?
I don't know.
Well, this is Lori. I was going to say I'm committed for a longer term, but if the shorter one is what's available, I'm amenable. Thank you.
Great.
Go ahead.
Steve, go ahead.
I'll gladly take the shorter term.
Okay, so that was easy. So with that, we have Ted appointed for a term ending January 31st, 2025. Steve, term ending January 31st, 2024. And Lori, term ending January 31st, 2025. Welcome to community service again for many of you, and we again are so thankful for not only your background but your willingness to step forward. Look very much forward to working with you and considering your recommendations in the future. With that ends our meeting for today. The next meeting of the Morro Bay City Council will be our regular meeting this evening at 5:30 p.m. via teleconference. Thank you all and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.